Hey guys, it's Crystal from Essentially Tarot. Welcome back to my channel for part 5, the final part in the Oracle card collection series. I have some interesting decks today, some Oracle, some not quite Oracle. So I figured there's only a few left. We'd throw them all in one last video because there's not quite enough to break it up into 2 more videos. So that being said, let's just jump right in. So the first deck we're going to look at is the Wisdom Keepers Oracle deck and Inner Guidebook by Rosie Arnson, PhD. Now this one is a pretty large deck. Here's your guidebook. Now I will say this, Rosie, Dr. Rosie maybe, has done a lot of work with a book that I am not familiar with. She mentions it in kind of her about the deck section. It's The Gene Keys by, I want to find the name of the author of that book. Does she tell us? I'm pretty sure she does. Oh, Richard Rudd. Now, I have not read The Gene Keys, so I will say that there are parts of this deck that I don't really understand because it's mirroring whatever theory, whatever system is in that book. So I will say that I do plan to maybe eventually read The Gene Keys so I can understand everything that's going on within this Oracle deck, because I feel like I am missing out on a part of it. So you see here, it's a pretty decent sized guidebook. For each card, you get a little black and white picture. There's a quote up here. Then you get the gift, the shadow, and the siddhi. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correct. And then the programming partner. And all of this kind of plays into that Gene Keys book. Obviously, the gift and the shadow, I understand. The siddhi, however we're pronouncing that, from what I understand is kind of what you achieve when you have total balance. So when you balance the gift with the shadow, in this particular card, it's the gift is totality, the shadow is purposelessness. When you're able to balance those two out, you reach immortality. So you get all of that. Then you get the story that goes with the card, which I really, really, really love. And I think it makes working with this deck really fun because when you come across those faces again in the cards, you tend to kind of remember the story and it helps you kind of connect deeper to the message of the cards. Then it tells you their gift to you. And then there's some questions for contemplation, which I think are really cool too, to do some further work with the cards, whether it be journaling or just to sit with them and kind of go through those questions on your own. So anyhow, let's jump into the cards. Here are the cards themselves. They are quite large. They're oh, the mirror cards on top. Sorry, guys. They are quite large. But I don't tend to read these in reversals. I tend to read these upright, and kind of decide whether it's in shadow or in light, just intuitively. So it's not really a problem. I don't try to riffle shuffle them. Again, there is a mirror card. I will not turn that around because I feel like that'll mess up the camera. But I think it's a cool extra touch because the purpose of that card is to prove that you are the Oracle, and it kind of asks you questions about yourself and your own journey and kind of what you bring to your spirituality. And I think that's a really cool thing. But these are the cards. They're so big, I gotta kind of back up a second here. I think they're really beautiful. One thing that I do find a little distracting is that some of these cards look an awful lot like people we know. There's one, for instance, that looks very much like Robin Williams. And, you know, no one is named in the book, so we're not trying to look for people that we know. But I find that a little distracting because when I'm looking, like this kind of reminds me of like, is this supposed to be like a young Steve Jobs almost? I don't know. He looks very familiar to me for some reason. I'm not really sure who I think that reminds me of. But I do find that a little distracting. I'd almost rather just go with faces of people I don't know, than kind of, you know, centering them around pop culture in some respects. But I think it's a really beautiful deck. I love, again, the stories in the guidebook, I feel like help you connect really well to the stories on the cards. Like this looks like Tootie from Facts of Life to me, right? No, Natalie. Natalie, not Tootie. Looks like Natalie from Facts of Life, and I can't unsee it. But yeah, I think it helps you connect with the messages of the cards. You can see you kind of get your keyword here, and then the number to look up in the book. I don't know. These, I've definitely been relying heavily on the guidebook when I do use them, just because I do want, there we go. There he is. I do want that added layer of the story because I feel like it adds, again, just extra depth. And it's one of those deals where when I read the story once, more often than not, when I come back to that card, if I pull it again, I'll see, or this looks like Einstein for invention. But when I come back to that card and I pull it again, I tend to say, oh, I remember this person's story. It was X, Y, and Z. And, you know, it just gives me a deeper message. So yeah, I really like these. I really like working with them. I worked with them extensively just recently, actually. And I really liked them. I liked the messages. I liked the vibe of them. I feel like every time I pulled a card from this deck, I got a lot out of it. So that is the Wisdom Keepers Oracle deck and Inner Guidebook. I apologize. I'm really, my voice is very gravelly lately. I've been having like, not laryngitis, but I've just had like a really rough voice lately. I don't know what's going on there, but I apologize because I'm sure it's annoying. It's kind of annoying me because I can hear it myself. So that's cool. Anyway, next up, we have the Keepers of the Light Oracle cards by Kyle Gray. This is a pretty popular deck. You see this one a lot. I haven't had a chance to work with this one yet. It came in fairly recently, so I haven't pulled it out. But here you go. In your guidebook, you have your card, the name of the person on the card, the keyword, the key phrase that's on the card. Then it tells you about the person on the card, and it gives you kind of the extended message, and that's what you get for each of your cards. This is a beautiful deck. Like, look at these backs. These backs are really beautiful. The colors in this deck are very vibrant and beautiful. Yeah. Oh, I think this might still be in order actually, because I haven't worked with it. But this is one of those like kind of standard oracles. I feel like everyone has seen it. Everyone tends to have not everyone, but you know, a lot of people tend to have a copy of this. And I really do like working with different gods, goddesses, different light keepers, if you will, going with the name of the deck. I like bringing in that energy. I like having a figure to focus on, and you know, an extra, again, it's kind of like the Wisdom Keepers, where having a person and a story and, you know, mythology to go off of kind of adds to the card. So if you're familiar with Krishna and Krishna's story, you can kind of dig from that as well when you pull the card. And I really, really enjoy that. I like having kind of that extra, again, just that extra oomph, that extra meat to kind of take from when you're going through it and getting messages. You can say like, oh, well, you know, Mary Magdalene, this is what I know about her. You know, in this particular situation, you know, pulling from her story, pulling from what I know about her, you know, this is how I make that connection. This is how it resonates with me today. And I like that. Obviously, you know, we have varying characters from all over mythology, religion, things like that, different gods, goddesses, religious figures. And I think it's nicely diversified. I'm not a huge, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I'm not someone who owns a lot of like quote unquote religious decks. I don't have a religious following that I stick to. I like to think of my spiritual practice as kind of free flowing, and I like to kind of pull from a little bit of everywhere. So something like this works out really nice when you have that diversity. I don't know that I would go for a deck that was centered only in one religion or one culture, just because I like the variety. So yeah, that's the Keepers of the Light Oracle. Again, I can't really speak to how it reads because I have not really read with it yet, but it seems to be pretty standard and tried and true. So we're going to give it a go. Although, speaking of, I'm like, oh, I'm not very religious. The next one I have is the Rumi Oracle by Alana Fairchild. Now, I will be honest, when I purchased this deck, I don't know that I was completely familiar with Rumi or Rumi's work or who Rumi even was. I know I had seen quotes from Rumi floating around somewhere at some point. And I was like, why not? So I purchased it. Not knowing anything about Rumi, not really knowing anything about Alana Fairchild either. This is right now my one and only Alana Fairchild deck. I want to pick up more, especially for the way her guidebook is written. I feel like Alana Fairchild writes beautifully, and I really enjoy reading the entries in her guidebook. You will see. I forgot I did this until just this moment when I opened this book. I did use Post-it notes to just kind of take down keywords, key phrases, because she does write beautifully, but she is very long-winded. I feel like her entries are poetic and beautiful and heartfelt, but if you're trying to get a message on the fly, and you don't want to sit there and read through the whole entire guidebook, it can help to just kind of make yourself little notes. So let me go to one that doesn't have any. So this is what it looks like inside her book. You get a black and white picture of the card. Now, typically if I read using this deck for anyone, I do use the guidebook because with each card, she does give you writings from Rumi to match the card. And I feel like without those, you're missing a key component of this deck. I feel like if you're going to be using the Roomy Oracle, you want to hear from Rumi himself. So I do. If I read with this deck, you can see this guidebook's kind of, well, maybe you can't see. It's a little worn out because when I do pull this out, either for Oracle Card Friday to pull cards, or if I include it in a reading, I always make sure to include whatever Rumi writing Alana Fairchild has associated with the cards. So this one has a pretty hefty one. And then you get kind of, I don't know, like a abridged version of the message. And then Alana Fairchild kind of jumps in even further with the message of the card. And then she gives you a ritual to use to work with the energy of the card. Again, her writing is beautiful and I really do enjoy it. I will say, again, this is one of those decks where the titles, the keywords on the cards don't really give me a whole lot to go off of intuitively. I do struggle with some of them. But I don't find it incredibly problematic because I do use the guidebook to pull up the writings from Rumi to match the cards. Again, I just feel like it's an important layer and component with this deck. You don't have to do that. I feel like the artwork is very provocative, or not provocative, that's the wrong word, evocative. I feel like you could read these intuitively, but again, I feel like some of them I would really struggle with. Again, especially because I am not someone who is from a religious background. I'm not someone who follows any specific path. So like when you talk about the cloak of Christ, I can kind of put two and two together and figure out what I think that means. But intuitively, I'm not, I'm kind of struggling with the religious symbolism in that. So I feel like having the extra bonus of Rumi's writing to help kind of fill in those puzzle pieces a little bit for me really make this deck pop. Like I feel like it just makes all the difference in the world. The artwork is really beautiful. The messages are very, very deep. I feel like they're very healing. They're very spiritual, of course, because Rumi was a very spiritual guy. He was all about, learning and really devoting himself to spirituality, and not just in one religion. He was a master of religion, of spirituality. He studied with people from all walks of faith and all walks of life. And I think that really shows in his writing. And I think it is accessible to anyone, even if you don't have a path like me, you don't follow a specific path. I feel like spiritually, there's still a way to connect to his writing and the deck itself. I really, really love this one. I think it's so beautiful. I don't like when there's like too much on a card word-wise, but like I almost wish the backings just had the writings from Rumi. So you would have like the picture on the front and then the poetry on the back from Rumi would be perfect, because then I wouldn't have to keep pulling this little guy out. But it's fine. It's not a big deal. Again, I prefer to use the writings with the cards. You don't have to. You could totally ignore that if you wanted to, but I feel like if you're gonna have the Rumi Oracle, you kind of need the Rumi, right? right. Well, not right. This is just what I say. These are the backings. They're absolutely beautiful. I'd like to edge this deck maybe in gold to match them. But yeah, I've had this one for a little while. I put off using it for a long time because I was like totally overwhelmed by it. But I think part of, you know, your practice when it comes to tarot and oracle is finding something that works for you. And again, with this deck, I found that if I was trying to just read them intuitively, I don't know, I just felt overwhelmed. I felt overcome. Like I couldn't do it. So for me, the perfect thing was including those writings of Rumi, and it just kind of made the whole thing way less stressful. It made it so much more approachable for me. So that's that. Next, let's hop into arguably the last Oracle deck. The rest of these are kind of borderline Oracle. So this is the Mystic Misfits Oracle by Stag. No, is that? Yeah, Stag. Lowbrowmisfits.com is their website. You can also get this on Etsy. This is the little guidebook. It kind of cracks me up because it reminds me of like when you're a kid and you use the teeny tiny little steno books to like pretend you're a waiter or a waitress. Just me, maybe. Super simple. It just gives you the card number. It gives you a little sentence and some keywords. That's really it. That is the whole thing. And you can see back here, I have actually glued in this entry because at the time that I purchased this deck, it came with a bonus card. So the write-up for the bonus card was not in the book, but they were nice enough to actually send it on a separate sheet of paper with the same font and everything. So I literally just cut it out and stuck it in my book. Or actually, it might have come, I think it came in like a strip. I just literally had to trim it a little bit on the sides and just kind of stuck it in. Not the most aesthetically pleasing, but it's in there, so it makes me feel better. So these are the backings. They match the book. And the artwork is just my favorite. So, again, I love like creepy, cute is my absolute favorite. I feel like you don't really need the guidebook to use these. You can kind of read them intuitively. They just have one big old keyword on them. And I feel like especially if you are pairing this with another deck, whether it be Oracle or Tarot, just kind of as that extra little snack on the side, just a clarification deck. I feel like you can get a lot out of this intuitively, but you do have that little guidebook with the keywords. And these are just so cute. They really are. They have all sorts of art listed for sale. Some of it is in color and just so beautiful, like just beautiful. But again, if you're into that creepy cute, which is absolutely my favorite. So this was the extra card that came, was the fairy. And I think she's great. I just want to show you the death card really quick because she's really cool too though. But the death card is by far my favorite, even though I'm an Aries and I should probably associate with this card with the whole Ram energy. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. Of course, he's the last card in the deck. He's so cute. Tell me you've ever seen a cuter death in your life. I don't think you have. He's just the cutest. So yeah, it's a really cute deck. It's a really fun deck. I feel like it works really well with Jasmine Beckett Griffith's artwork as well. It's kind of that same cutesy vibe, creepy cute vibe, if you will. But yeah, it's just a cute little deck, a sweet little deck. I think it's like 30 some odd cards. It's fairly small. I did edge mine in black. And that's it. That's the Mystical Misfits. Super cute. So as I said, that's like the last, what I would consider true Oracle deck. The rest of them, well, I mean, I guess that's not fair to say. The rest, though, are a little non-traditional. So let's start with the more mass market non-traditional deck that I have here, and that is the Spellcasting Oracle cards. These came in at the same time as the Keepers of the Light Oracle cards. Hay House was having a huge sale, and I had picked up a bunch of cards. And so I've made it through all but these two, the Keepers of the Light and the Spellcasting Oracle cards. And this is, I've not been saying, yes, I have, but this is by Flavia Kate Peters and Barbara Michael John Free. Ooh, I might have butchered that. The artwork is by Lisbeth Cheever Gessaman. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't butcher those. But here's your guidebook. And you have your phrase, you have magical guidance, you have a spell incantation, and then you have magical meanings listed here. So these magical meanings you could kind of take as like your divinatory purposes, if you will, because it says like good luck. There's a change for the, well, it's the good luck card, but there's a change for the better. Luck energy surrounds you right now. Grab opportunities with both hands. A black cat signals a lucrative win. So I do like that there's a spell incantation in here because of course it is these spellcasting oracle cards. So sometimes it's nice to have not only a message, but ooh, there's a fuzzy, not only a message, but also something that you can do to kind of embody, you know, your cards, the energy of cards. I did a kind of funky job on my edging here because of the backs that you have like the green and the blue. So I used some stamp pads to kind of mirror that with my edging. I don't know. I don't know what I was doing there. It doesn't look terrible though. I actually forgot that I did that. So there's that. So anyway, yep, there's the backings. Showed those to you. Show them again. And here is the cards. They are really beautiful. And they are kind of that matte cardstock, but they're a little thinner. They're an interesting cardstock. I don't mind them. I actually really prefer this kind of textured matte. I really like the way it feels. I like the way it shuffles. I feel like it has good slide to it. And it also, you know, it photographs well. I don't know, it's kind of my favorite finish in a cardstock beside linen. Linen cardstock is of course beautiful. And you know, rose petal is nice too, but that's kind of sticky and it's hard to shuffle. So yeah, you can see you get your image, you get the keyword. Now I find these interesting because they're spellcasting oracle cards. I guess, you know, you could really go either way and just use these for divinatory purposes, and or as a clarification deck, or you could jump in and use, you know, the guidance for spell work and hear the incantations and whatnot. So I guess it's really up to you how you would want to best utilize these. I mean, I'm assuming if you're reading for someone else, you might just use these in a divinatory way rather than being like, and here's the incantation for your spell work. Go nuts. Because, you know, most people don't want homework after they get a reading. They just kind of want a message. As opposed to me, who's like super intrigued by the idea of having, ooh, that's weird, having a ritual to go along with the message. So these are really beautiful. Again, this is your box image. I haven't had a chance to use them yet, but I am really, really excited to. I feel like I'm definitely going to be bringing these out soon with the weather changing. I feel like, you know, I don't know, fall and winter, it's just a time to kind of be inside, stay cozy, and, you know, really dive into your spirituality, dive into your practice, whatever it looks like, whether it's tarot, oracle, whether you are into the witchier things or not. Okay, next up is the Rock and Roll Oracle. And it has this beautiful hollow on the outside of the box, on the back of the box as well. And inside the box, as you can see. Absolutely beautiful. And this deck is by Natalie Mertz. Here's your guidebook. And when you open it up, you have the card number, who is on the card, their title, and some keywords. You get a kind of description / message of the card, and then there's the application. And the application is less like what to do, and more along the lines of where to focus, like how to focus on the energy of this card, how to bring the energy of this card into the situation. So like where you need to focus within yourself to embody the energy of the card. I hope that makes sense. So that's your little guidebook. Not anything too crazy. These are the cards themselves. Even the backings are hollow. They're absolutely beautiful. I'd be lying if I said that the hollow wasn't like 90% of why I bought this deck, because as you'll see in about 2 seconds, I have another music related oracle. But these are the cards. They're very simplistic. I really, really like the style of art that they used. And so you get, again, the name and like their title, if you will. The keywords are not on the card. I think if I could change anything, that would be the one thing that I would change, is just to have the keywords on the cards themselves. But, you know, not a deal breaker. And especially if you're somebody who is really into music, a diverse amount of music as well, because you have a little bit of everyone in here. I think if you know a little bit about the personalities of these artists, the music of these artists, you could use this intuitively without needing any sort of keywords. Like obviously Madonna as the provocateur. Like I know enough about Madonna that I can kind of figure out how this plays into the situation, or what I might need to do to embody the energy of Madonna. Or, you know, Marilyn Manson, the anti-hero, which I love. Anti-hero, how more perfect could that title be for Marilyn Manson? So yeah, so as long as you have a fairly good knowledge of musicians, again, as long as you know a little bit about them, a little bit about their music, you could read this intuitively and just kind of go off of that. But if not, you do have the guidebook to kind of help you along. And again, I just like the simplicity of it. I love the colors. I love, you know, it's something you could just kind of throw on to the end of a reading, even if you wanted to be like, hey, you know what? If you want to bring in, you know, this particular vibe, you know, again, we're going with Bob Dylan, you know, the minstrel, we're talking about storytelling. We're talking about, you know, bringing in that vibe of, you know, tapping into the storytelling and what's your story and how are you shaping your story, and, you know, sit with some of his music and just kind of listen to it and bring that in, bring in that energy, bring in that vibe. I think it's a really cool thing to add on to a reading. So yeah, I did something like that on Instagram where I did kind of like a pick a card, pick a pile. As much as I don't necessarily love those, because I feel like, I don't know, it's hard to read for a large group of people like that. But I did that because I wanted to do like a multi-sensual reading. So like I had the Rock and Roll Oracle. Actually, I don't think I had the Rock and Roll Oracle. I think I had this one, which was the Music Oracles. And then I had another oracle or two that I'm about to show you. So we had kind of like a sight, sound, smell, like you could bring in the energy through multiple senses. Does that make sense? I think it's cool. I don't think it's something that you could do every day because it'd be kind of overwhelming to be like, okay, what do I need to listen to? What do I need to look at? What do I need to, like, that just might be too much. But I think every once in a while it's kind of a cool thing to do. So anyway, moving on. We also have the Music Oracles. Again, there's no name on the outside of the box, I don't think. Written by Stephen Elcock. Illustrations by Timba Smits. Now, I know that there are several of these out there. I believe there's an Artist's Oracle. I believe there's also a Fashion Oracle. This is the only one that I happen to own. Is that, yeah, there's a card stuck in there. Hold on. There's like, oh, it's not a card stuck in there, you guys. It's just the bottom of the box. Silly me. Oh, silly me, the cards are red. Oh my goodness, really? This is what happens when you look at too many decks at a time. You forget what you have and what they look like. So here's your guidebook. It is almost like a magazine. It's very thin. It's not the most structurally sound as far as, you know, the cover and whatnot. It's basically kind of stapled. But you get a color picture, which is nice. Telling you who the artist is, you know, what years they were, you know, for Beethoven, obviously his year of birth, year of death. And then you get a write-up on a little bit of like who Beethoven was, you know, what he did for music, what his music consisted of. So I'm out of frame, sorry guys. So this is less about the message of the cards and just telling you, again, it's Meet the Oracles is really the book. So you're just learning about who is on the cards versus what the cards are saying to you. So you do have, it actually, the cover literally is Guide to the Music Oracles. You have these little symbols on the cards. So this one is the attitude, this is lifestyle, this is inspiration. So you could kind of, I guess, go off of that and interpret these however you'd like. I don't find that they give the most cohesive message. So like for instance, we have Bjork here. We have for the attitude, devour life whole. So I guess if you wanted to embody that attitude. For lifestyle, it says organize an orgy with the sky and the sea. And then for inspiration, it says optimism is energy. So there's kind of a lot going on there. Just even in this one card, you have 3 very different messages in one card. And I guess, it's kind of up to you how you want to, interpret attitude versus lifestyle versus inspiration. How do you bring each of those in to a reading? Do you bring each of those in? Do you want to just pick one and kind of work with that energy with the card? That's kind of why I haven't pulled these out very much, because I looked at them and I was like, this probably isn't like the most clear structure in an Oracle deck. Like this, there's a lot going on here. But again, I do really enjoy the artwork. I enjoy this deck. I feel like the Rock and Roll Oracle is obviously very rock and roll influenced. Maybe not so much modern rock and roll, because you have kind of a little bit of everything who kind of came from rock and roll, like Madonna, Marilyn Manson, Elvis. Like those are all very different. I think Dolly Parton's in there. They're all very different facets of music, but they kind of all have some sort of rock and roll root connection to some extent. Whereas this deck is a little more varied. Obviously, you have Leonard Cohen, you have Kate Bush, you have Beethoven. We already said that. So it is a little more varied. You do see some repeats from the Rock and Roll Oracle. I feel like there's just certain artists that you can't leave out. You just have to include them. They're legends. But again, we have a little bit of everything in this deck. But as I said, I really like the artwork of this deck. I just feel like I wish it was a more cohesive message. I almost wish they had just gone with one phrase rather than the 3 different variations. I just find it kind of distracting, and that could just be me. It could just be me not really knowing how I want to work with these or how best to work with them. But again, they're really fun. I love music. I listen to this is my girl right here, Billy. She's my girl. I listen to a wide variety of music. So I like that these aren't, they're not what you expect. You expect to see kind of the same faces over and over again, but there is some variety in here. And I like to pull these less for the messages and more for the general vibe of somebody. Like, you know what? Here's your reading. Joni Mitchell is bringing in this vibe, this energy. Again, I kind of find like a storyteller energy with Joni Mitchell, but I don't know. I just feel like it adds another facet to a reading to kind of involve a sense other than, just your intellect. So yeah, I don't know. That's where we're at with those. Again, I don't pull them out often enough because I do kind of struggle with the way they're structured. But overall, it's a really cool deck to own. And Queen Bey is on the back. That's exciting. So moving forward, I guess following that trend, we'll talk about some other senses. This is the Essential Oil Oracle cards. And these are by Lisa Powers. I had to hunt these down. I can't remember. I believe these may or may not be out of print, actually. I forget where I grabbed them from. This is your guidebook. It's very small little guidebook. And, there's some talk in here about chakras, how to use the cards, multiple card readings, all that good stuff. There's not really a whole lot. Actually, there's really nothing in here about the card meanings. It breaks down the symbols on the cards. So you have a symbol for the oil note, the related chakra, the oil name, the message. They have an anchor word, a trigger statement to release, and a true statement to embrace. And they tell you all that on the card. And they'll show you the chakra symbols. And then your oil note symbols. So like if you wanted to build a blend of oils using the cards and pull, a top note, a middle note, a base note, they kind of tell you where those fall on the cards. And then there are actual blend cards in here, which is like the one thing that I don't really love about this deck, quite honestly. I'll show you though. They're really beautiful. They are silver gilded. Here are your backings. They're really nice. They're really beautiful. Again, these are another thing that I do not pull out often enough. And I don't really know why. I think because it's just extra work sometimes. Like when I read for myself, I'm usually doing something quick and on the fly. I don't really do extensive readings for myself often because I just don't have time. So I guess if I were to sit down and do something bigger and more involved and I wanted to add another layer to it, these are good to pull out to be like, okay, you know what, I don't know if you want to wear dill, but I'm going to incorporate dill into my day. And you can see we have clearing, and then it says, none of this matters is the trigger statement. But your true statement is, I am clear. And then it has, you know, this little message down here at the bottom for you. So they're really beautiful. But see, like this, I don't love. So this is one of those blend cards, and it says repellent. So to me, I'm thinking citronella, I'm thinking peppermint, maybe lavender. I'm thinking like literal bug repellent. I don't know if that's what they mean. There's really nothing to explain that. Lisa Powers doesn't really kind of get into that. So, you know, if I was using this for someone else and I were to pull this and be like, oh, well, you're going to want to blend together some oils that have repellent qualities. It's just strange, right? I don't know. Is that just me? But I love essential oils. I love, oops, I don't know why that's upside down. I love playing with scents. I love, use like DNA repairing. What are the chances that off the top of your head, you know which essential oils are DNA repairing, right? Like that just seems, I don't know. It's just a lot. But yeah, I love to incorporate oils into my tarot practice. I'll oftentimes kind of use oils when I'm sitting down to like topical. There's so many topical oils, but I'll use oils when I'm sitting down to do a reading sometimes to bring in an energy. You know, I enjoy using them. So if you are someone, oh, excuse me, my nose just got really itchy. If you are somebody who likes to bring essential oils in and just, you know, play around with them, work with them, use them. This is kind of a really cool deck to, again, I don't use it really as an oracle so much as like a closing card to be like, okay, you know what? So this is the reading. This is the overall vibe. Here's our keyword that we need to work on. So honoring self. Sorry, trying to read that through the camera. You know, here's the trigger statement that we want to look out for. Like when we're saying this trigger statement, we want to correct this. We want to correct this, and we want to work on, you know, feeling that we're creating our own way, and we're going to incorporate coriander into our day in some way, shape, or form. So I think it's a really nice way to kind of wrap up a reading. I don't know that I would necessarily, I mean, I guess you could. I guess it could be kind of cool. Like, for instance, let's just, for fun, like, I don't know how this is going to work out. I've never used them this way. Is this funny? So like grapefruit, there you go with the blends, encouraging, and sandalwood. So making an encouraging blend. Sorry, dog's barking. But yeah, so making an encouraging blend, making an encouraging blend using grapefruit and sandalwood, or incorporating those into that blend somehow. And then kind of taking the messages from all three and kind of working that into a cohesive message. That could be a kind of cool way to use this. Again, it's another one that I don't pull out often enough. Again, I think because it is not oddly specific, but if I'm reading for someone who is not physically here with me, I can, you know, say, hey, you want to incorporate some, you know, myrrh into your day. But what are the chances that they have that on hand? You know, I have a pretty extensive essential oil library here, if you will, but if they're not physically with me, I can't give that to them, you know? So I don't pull it out that often. I do pull it out every once in a while. I need to work with it more. I think it's actually one that I've thought about maybe possibly passing on because I don't use it that often, and I have another essential oil-based deck on its way to me from Australia. So not so great following my own rules. Okay, so we're going to jump into some of the more obscure decks now. The first one we're going to look at is the Numinous Astro deck by Ruby Warrington and Bess Matassa. Now, I'm not going to lie. I literally bought this deck just because I thought the box was absolutely beautiful. Here's your guidebook. And let's get to, so for instance, here we have Capricorn, the boss. You have keywords. You have their quality, element, planet, house, symbol, body part, oops, sorry, I'm out of frame. Body part, color, metal, gemstone, city, scent, style, and their tarot card. And then you have a write-up about Capricorn. Then there's a message for when you pull this card, and that's it. Then you move on to the next. So you get a really nice amount of information with this card, with this deck. And this is very much an astrology deck. Now, I have not played with this. It came in and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not really sure how I want to utilize this. So I've really been holding on to this since it came. I think I just put those together wrong. I did. Just because I'm not sure what I want to do with it. And my astrology knowledge, my astrological knowledge, I guess I should say, is not that strong. It's something that I am working on, and I thought this would be kind of a really fun way to incorporate that a little more in my practice, but I'm not there yet. So I've gone through it. You can see you have the houses, you have the signs. Here's the numinous for mystery, and there is, you can see a write up here on the bottom. So you could use this like an oracle deck. You could literally just pull a card and talk about, you know, the 10th house, reputation, career, responsibilities, achievement. All your keywords are down here at the bottom. So you could use it in that way. You could also use it to kind of map out your birth chart, if you're familiar with your birth chart. You have the planets. Again, I'm just not sure how I want to use this. I just find astrology to be very complex. And again, it's something that I'm working on. Like here's square. It's something that I'm working on. Sextile. So you have, I mean, just many facets within this deck. So I can't really speak to, reading with it. I don't know why that's upside down. Although I'm a Pisces Aries cusp. So these are obviously together for a reason. I obviously was doing something with these cards when they came in, like laying something out to some extent. I think these cards are beautiful. I'm really excited to work with them. Oh, here, this is the other half of the deck. I'm really excited to work with them. I lack the knowledge and the skill to utilize them in a more productive way than just kind of using them as an oracle or just pulling a reading from them, which you totally could do. But again, I think I tend to overthink things, you guys. That's kind of really my main problem, is that I really do try to overthink things. And I get easily intimidated by things, and then I kind of just let them sit. These are the backings. They're beautiful. So this is a deck that I have purposely ignored on my shelf. And I think really the best way to go about it is just kind of to dive in, maybe really go through the guidebook, and just see, you know, obviously there's how to use the card for chart interpretations, for divination. You know, they kind of give you both methods. So I don't know, I might pull this out and just use it as an oracle for a little while, just get comfortable with, the way things are worded, the way things are set up in the book. I think it gives you a really nice amount of information about the signs, the houses, all of that good stuff. I just need to dive in. I just need to stop putting it off because I need to stop being intimidated. But it is an absolutely beautiful deck. So that is the Numinous Astro deck. Now we're going to get into some of the even less, less common decks that I have here that kind of fall into Oracle, kind of don't. Let's start with this little guy because it's so cute. This is from Kaleidodope, and this is the Swatches of Chakra deck by Crystal Banner. And I might have been convinced to buy this once I saw she spelled her name the same way I do. It might have had something to do with it. But on the other hand, I also just really wanted another color deck. I did have the other color decks that I showed earlier. Their names totally escape me right now. But this one was just, I don't know, I really liked it. You can see it is still in order. I haven't done anything with it other than just pull it out and kind of like, woo. So you have, here's like the rainbow, and you have limitless as the keyword. There's no book. It's just you know, the cards. There's no little white book in here. And you get a color. You do have these numbers here, which, oh, scan for additional info. I should do that. I never have, like, I saw the QR code and just kind of ignored it. So that was silly, wasn't it? But then you have stability and security. And then you have, you know, finances, physical body, creativity. So there's like sexual energy. There's this really nice range of keywords. You have these beautiful range of colors. Like, it's not just like red, yellow, green, blue. Like, there's like, I'm a color fanatic. I love color. I love talking about color. I love being really super ridiculously specific when naming colors. My best friend will tell you, oftentimes she'll be like, oh, I bought a dress today. It's really pretty. It's blue. I'm like, it's blue? What kind of blue? Is it like cerulean blue? Is it like a teal blue? Is it an aqua? Like, really annoying like that. Most often she's like, let me just take a picture. I'm like, okay. So if you are drawn to color and working with color and talking about color and kind of seeing how color plays into things for you, this is a really cool little deck. And again, I got it in. These are the backs. They're so beautiful and simple. I got this in, I went through it, and then I just kind of put it to the side and forgot about it. But I would really love to do, like, again, this kind of goes with what I was talking about earlier with the multi-sensual readings, if you will. Like, to pull a card and be like, okay, you know what? Here's like this pumpkin-y, bright orange, for emotions. Like, let's put emotions into the reading. Let's see how that fits in with the message of the reading. But let's use today to kind of embrace this orange. Let's try to surround ourselves with this orange. What do I have that I can have out in my space to bring in the vibe and the energy of my reading? You know, do I have any shirts in this color? Actually, I do, because I have a lot of Halloween shirts. But, you know, how can I bring in the energy of the reading using this particular color today? So I think that's a cool way to use these. And they're just, I don't know, they're just so pretty. And they're so simple, but they're so pretty. And I think that they can be utilized in a bunch of different ways. So another oracle, not quite oracle, I suppose. But I was really excited about these. So I need to pull them out. I need to give them some love. And they're just so tiny. They're so cute. And they're nice and thin. You could throw these right in your bag. I really enjoy them. So next up, this is one that I don't really see floating around in a lot of people's collections, but I do see it coming up often in like searches and stuff. And these are by Lo Scarabeo. These are the Gypsy Oracle cards, but they're less like an Oracle card and more, oops, just dropped that. More like a Lenormand. I always say Lenormand because I feel like it's French. Maybe it's not. Lenormand, I know a lot of people say. It does come with this little white book. It's in multi-languages, so it kind of gives you, you know, basic cross. It gives you a little bit of the history. It tells you how to use them. And then, you know, that's pretty much it. That's what you got. The rest is all in different languages. So very basic information about them. They are cute, but like here you have faux, and then you have your basic, you know, multilingual borders. I should trim these down maybe. I mean, it's a pretty tiny deck as it is. Here's the backings. But they remind me of like a Lenormand deck, and it's a little hard to see these. That says hope. I played around with these a little bit when I first got them. I got these pretty early on in my, sorry, I've got a dog shaking. Pretty early on in my tarot practice, just because they were really inexpensive. And I was like, oh, I like the vintage artwork on them. I haven't really pulled them out since then. Again, this is another deck that I think I really need to kind of play around with and just see what I think. What, you know, I tried using it as kind of a clarifier and I struggled with that. I think because I was just too new in my tarot practice to kind of throw in something that was a little more intuitive, because there isn't really anything telling you, you know, exactly what these are supposed to mean for you. But they do have keywords. You know, some of them are really specific, like we just saw wife and young woman. So those you might kind of struggle to fit into a reading, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I really want to try again with these. I feel like I really want to make it work. I guess you could, again, try to do like a Lenormand style reading maybe a grand tableau with them, because they are very similar to me. Obviously they don't have the same symbolism, like you don't have like key, house, things like that, but they remind me of that for some reason. I don't know. So yeah, so that is that little deck. Again, I don't really know how I want to utilize it. I've had it for years and it just kind of sits, which is a shame. But I really plan to try to work with some of these decks that have been sitting for a while, because I feel like they deserve some attention. So there's that. That is the Gypsy Oracle cards from Lo Scarabeo. Trying to see if there's any. Ooh, that is a name that I am going to butcher. Civil de la Bohemienne. I feel like that is not right, but that is the author of the deck. So there you go. Now, the next one is definitely not really an Oracle deck. These are Contemplation Cards, Words for Reflection and Intention. And again, this is a deck that I really haven't pulled out. I've pulled it out a couple of times for like pick a stone, pick a card readings. I've pulled it out a couple of times for card of the month on my Facebook page. They're very tiny, as you can see, but they're nice because they have a wide variety of keywords. And I bought these really as clarifiers. I bought these, you know, to add that extra layer to a reading if there was any sort of confusion as to, you know, where something needed to focus, what were, you know, what the basis of something was, what the root of something was. And I think these would be great for that. I just don't use them that way because I think I forget that I have them, quite honestly. There was a point in time, oh my goodness, I'm throwing things. There was a point in time where I was kind of pulling a word for myself and using that as my focus for like the week, because the box for these is really cool. It is magnetic, but this is actually a little frame. So you can slide your card of the day or the week or the month or the year or whatever it may be and put it right on your altar so that you have that reminder like, okay, you know what, right now I'm focusing on strength, what strength means to me, where I, you know, find my strength, where my strength comes from, how I exercise my strength on a day-to-day basis. And then you can just slide it back out and switch it out, you know, whenever you feel like it. So these are really cool. They're really simple. I believe I got these at Barnes & Noble forever ago. They were like in that weird little gifty section up front, but I saw them, and these are by Chronicle Books. There's no author, there's no book, there's no nothing, that's it. But I saw these and I just thought they were really cool to use, again, as a keyword, as a word of focus. So yeah, those are the Contemplation cards. Now, last but certainly not least, this is probably one of my favorite decks, even though I don't think I will ever use it for a reading or anything like that. It's more or less a satirical deck, kind of poking fun at divination. It's the Fantod Pack by Edward Gorey. I love Edward Gorey so incredibly much. And when I saw this, I knew I had to have it. It's the Fantod Pack interpreted by Madame Growita Weird. And I really enjoy it. Let me get that open. So here are the backings. This is your little white book. And this is not a serious deck by any means. I'm sure you could pull it out. You could read with it. You could do whatever you want, honestly. You know, isn't that kind of the joy and the beauty of cards in general, is that it's all about how you utilize these tools and how you interpret them and what you put into them yourself. But the book is so funny. Just so funny. Just Edward Gorey style humor. I love his illustrations, are my favorite. But he has this whole little backstory about like where the deck came from, you know, who Madame Weird is, you know, how to use it. And then these are your write-ups for the card. So you have the ladder, and you literally just get keywords, and they're so funny because like for the ladder, you have Tuesday, slander, reversals, creeping sickness, all the way to like an accident in a restaurant. I love that each of them have like something really outlandish. Like here's an accident in a theater, evil communications, thwarted ambition, an accident on a ladder, which you would think would be the ladder card, but it's not. So yeah, these just kind of crack me up, like blisters. Blisters is a keyword for one. I just think it's so funny. And again, it's not for everyone. Worms is another keyword. I don't know. It makes me giggle. Edward Gorey is my guy, so I had to have this. And again, they are so beautiful. They're Edward Gorey, you know, his illustrations. So you have the waltzing mouse, the urn. It's a short, sweet little deck. This one's unnamed. It is covered in the book. The bundle, the stones, like the effigy. I really, really enjoy this for what it is. Again, I don't know that I would pull this out for a reading unless like we're doing something funny and lighthearted and like, you know, just to kind of poke fun a little bit. I don't really read like that though, so I don't know that this really has a place in my readings, in my practice, but I had to have it because I love Edward Gorey and I just think it's so funny and witty. And I love just flipping through them and looking like, how cute is he? I just love looking through them. The cardstock is actually a really decent cardstock. It's, again, a very tiny deck. It does have pointy corners, which I wish it didn't, but I'm not going to trim them. I'm going to leave them the way they are because I just feel like it adds to, I don't know, it just adds to the deck in the fact that like if you try to shuffle them, it kind of pokes your hands a little bit. It feels right. So yeah, this is very much like a satirical deck. It's funny, it's witty, it's silly. But if you are a fan of Edward Gorey, I would definitely suggest getting it. I believe it's really inexpensive. It's like a $10 deck. It's not much. And again, I don't know that I'll ever see the light of day as far as an actual reading, but I do. I just like to pull it out and go through it. And it's just something that I love having because of my attachment to Edward Gorey and my attachment to tarot and oracle. I had to have it. I don't know. That's what it is. So that's it. That is the final video for my Oracle card collection. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm out of collection videos because those are my Oracle cards. Those are my tarot cards. We've done all of them for now. I will be uploading a tarot haul in the near future because I did get quite a few decks in last month in August. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I will be uploading that probably next week. And in the meantime, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for sitting here listening to me babble. If there were any decks at any point that you want to see more of, that you would like a walkthrough of, I'd be more than happy to do that. I think I might choose like one or two of my more obscure decks and just kind of do that anyway. Probably starting with the Ritual Abuse Tarot. I did look on YouTube. I see there's only like maybe 3 or 4 videos of walkthroughs. So I'm not adding to the noise, I guess. But that's it. I love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'll see you next time. Be sure to subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Watch my fingers do this. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.